Hi, I'm Corey. Welcome to Creating with Scraps. Today is day 9 of Tracie Fox Creative December Daily 2024, and I am going to do a little folio. Now, for those of you who are not following along, it's a collaboration that Tracie has done for the last few years, and it's designed around a December daily. This year, she is doing a Christmas anthology. She and her husband worked and created a series of stories, a series of 5 stories. And let's see, they are Christmas at the Cottage, Naughty Clarence, Christmas Rush, The Magic Toy Shop, and the one we are doing, and of course I had the here we go, The Secret Book at Scissor Lane. And that's the one we're this week's storyline. Now, many people, I haven't watched the previous videos because I generally don't, but I know that many people have indicated they are going to utilize it like Tracie and Jay intended, and they're making an anthology, and there's a story with each set of images and such. And the beauty of it is, so there's 5 separate sets that come with it for each of the 5 weeks and the 5 stories, and then there's a story that goes along with it too, and it's designed to be a book. They've got it created so that you can open it up and make it into an actual book, and full-size book. And it's absolutely fabulous. You can bind it and put all 5 of them together, or put them in like a little book box, like a book series set. But I wanted to do something just a little bit different. And I had planned one thing, and then once I read the story, The Secret Book at Scissor Lane, and saw the images that Tracie created to go with them, I decided to take it in a different direction. And so that's what I'm doing today. And what I am creating with you is based on something I did a while ago. I don't think I've shared a video on this, and if I have, I apologize, but I don't think I have. I was playing one day. I had some dried flowers and window film and some Tim Holtz paper, and I made these little, I don't know, fold over pockets, I guess. The journaling space right here with, a tab, a little bit of lace for a belly band. And I did a couple different ones, one with almost a full page window transparency, or full size, and then one with a pocket on top of a pocket. So dried flowers in here created into a pocket, and then a pocket in the back of the page. And then the third one was just a smaller window at the top. I apologize, the light glares on the transparency. But anyway, I thought I would do a take on this in order to make a little booklet. Now, this is my second time making this video. The first time, operator error, and there was absolutely no sound. It came out this morning with no voice. So I redid it, and I changed a couple of things just because I can. We're going to alter the book that I showed you just a little bit, but we are still going to use a window transparency. Now, I didn't have any dried holly or poinsettia, which would have been fabulous. So what I did is I picked up, one of the picks, the Christmas picks from a craft store, and I used little bits and pieces of that to make my window pocket. And I did a full-size window pocket, and I'll show you. And then I've got all my bits and pieces in here. I used Evelyn's Magical Christmas, this tag, because that's a very integral part of the story, and I put it back here. And then I used another piece from the kit to make this little pocket, this library card pocket, because it takes place at a library, and tuck that in there, and that is the story. So instead of making an actual book, double-sided book, I printed these smaller, and I'm going to bind them and put them inside. So this is the one I did the first time, but like I said, I changed it a little bit, so that is what we are going to make. Just as, information, I printed pages, the covers and content page. Those are some of the bits I'll be using. And then I printed pages 4, 6, 20, 22, 24, 25, 26, 30, 33, 34, and 36. So those were I'll put them right there. Those are the pages I printed. And then the story itself, it's designed to be printed full size and back to back, just like a regular book would be. But what I did is I printed these at 60%, because there's 2 to a page. And then if you print them back to back, they work beautifully. But I printed them at 60%, and then I cut them to 2 3/4 by 4 1/2 in order to fit it inside the pocket. And the pocket Let's see if I've got a piece here. I tried to cut some of it in advance so that the last video was almost an hour long and it was crazy. So I wanted to get some of it done in advance so that we didn't take quite that long. But this library pocket, library card, and then some labels on page, I think that's like 34 or 36, one of those two. So I think it's 34. I'm going to put the story inside this pocket and we are going to use this. So we're going to alter what I did with these just a smidge in order to utilize this pocket. And that's where we're going to go from here. Okay. I printed a couple different pages to be used as the cover. Now the total dimension on this is 5.5, and then the pages, once they're folded, will be about 3.5, roughly. Doesn't have to be perfect, and that's with a US paper size, 8.5 by 11. A4 might be slightly different, but it can be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. I chose to, it's like for this, for example, I printed the paper on one, or the image on one side, and then I just used a plain coffee dyed print on the back because the back will show. And because there's so many pages, I printed some of these thin, and then I decided I really wanted the weight of cardstock, so I reprinted it with cardstock. And I really liked that greenish color with it, but anyway, I like this one as well. So I originally used this image on the first booklet that I made. And then I thought I would try a different image so that you can get a different look. And what I did with this is I cut it, I just cut, when I print on my printer, I get a little bit of a white edge. Now I know there's a way to not get that, but on this particular one, I had to print the edge for a variety of reasons, but I had to print it. So I just trimmed those down, and I didn't measure, I just trimmed, I fussy cut it basically. And then I was selective as to where I wanted it on the page, what I wanted to show. So you can see here, I don't have the very bottom. I cut off the very bottom, and I don't have the gold bits at the top. I kind of just cut in the center of that. So you can cut wherever you want. And if you want it a little bit taller or a little bit smaller, you can do that as well. But a double-sided piece, and I cut it to 5.25 inch height, and then the width across. So the first thing I'm going to do is score it. Now this piece is going to be ultimately be my window. So it'll be inside like this, and then this is going to fold over and be the cover. Because of the way the paper is oriented, that works well, and that's one of the reasons I chose this, because it lends itself nicely to an image here, and this lends itself nicely to a window. And so because this is going to be my window, I flipped it around and I scored it at 3.25. So I've got my right side currently on my left side. I flipped it all the way around, and I'm scoring this at not 3.25. I cut my film to 3.25. I scored it at 3.5. Because this is 8.5 by 11-ish, it's trimmed down. There's a little bit of wiggle room. So I scored it at 3.5. Now I'm going to flip it back around to the correct way. And when I say correct way, I just mean the orientation of the paper is up. And so this is going to be the window that we cut out. And then I just took the other side and folded it over. And I can see here now that I didn't cut it perfectly straight, but you know what? That is absolutely okay. It's not going to show when we're all said and done. They're going to fit inside of a little folio, and it'll look great. So you can see here that maybe you can see, there is about maybe between 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch from where I folded the right side over to where I folded the left side and cover over. And I did that because the book itself has 19 pages, and it's going to be a little bit bulky. And I want to make sure that the book closes without bulking out. Now you can see here on the top and bottom, I didn't cut that very straight. So I will trim it down. I had already inked it, but that's all right. Inking the top and bottom is easy, and I can ink it later. So if you didn't cut it perfectly straight the first time, now's the great time to trim it up. All right, so it's basically like you're making a card, and then this piece right here is going to be our window. Now I already, because it was a pain in the tush to this piece to make that. It's a lot easier to do when you've got really flat pieces. So if I had had some dried holly or some dried poinsettia leaves, I would have used those. But here is what I ended up making. And just cut those little pieces off and put some of the ribbon on there and used one of the labels from the kit. This is going to be, and yes, it's double-sided because I've got these pieces that have that little white stuff that flies everywhere, sandwiched in between. The story takes place at Christmas, and there's snow mentioned, and I really liked the way these needles played with those needles, and this red with that red, which is why I did it this way. All right, so it is folded, and now I'm going to open it back up, and you can see I didn't cut all those off, but it doesn't matter. So with what is my right panel, I am now going to make 1/2-inch marks, and here, I'll mark this so I can see where I'm working. It's the inside. It's not going to show. You can use a punch, a square punch if you've got one, or you can do what I'm going to do and use straight edge and cut it that way. In order to make sure that my lines are straight and my window is straight, I am going to use my ruler and just mark lines. I don't have to erase these because this is the inside of my card. So I'm going to just lightly mark it top to bottom at 1/2 inch. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Did I do that at 1/2 inch? Yeah, I did. Okay. Lightly mark it top to bottom at 1/2 inch. This is a clear quilting ruler. There's lots of different kinds. So I'm not sure how well it shows, but there's a 1/2 inch on each side. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the top and the bottom. And then where the points intersect, where I'm going to actually be cutting, what I'll do is I'll mark them a little bit larger and darker so that when I have the ruler there, because I'll use the straight edge to cut these, I can see exactly where I'm supposed to stop. See, I just did it that way. And again, I've got printed image on the front, so it's not going to show through, but it'll make my cutting a lot easier. Then I am going to sew. You can use it, when I put this in, I am going to sew it just because it's a little bit thick and a little bit bulky, and if I were to glue it, I would have to give it time to dry. Like Distress Collage Medium is fabulous for holding in plastic or transparency or window film, whatever you want to call it, but it does have a bit of a time to dry completely. If I sew it, which is what I'm going to do, I don't have any wasted time. And I don't have the skill set to edit my videos, so I'm just going to sew it in place. But do know that if you choose to, you can glue it. All right, the inside piece, I'm just getting an X-Acto knife or a blade, and then I will use my straight edge and those marks that I made to cut out that window. And then I just try to push my straight edge next to the blade so that I cut it mostly straight. And though those larger marks, make sure I know where I'm starting and stopping. Again, you can use a square punch if you've got a square punch, but and then just move the square punch down as you're moving along to cut out that space. Oh, I didn't cut that straight. See, I moved my ruler. So that's an easy fix. I'll just recut that. Okay, and then this last one, because of the extra lights on my desk, sometimes the glare makes it hard to see where I'm working. Okay. And of course I miss a spot. There we go. All right, and I can use this for something else if I choose to. Just put it in my scrap bin. And that's all we're doing with the X-Acto blade. And there is my window for my pocket, my transparent pocket, my see-through pocket. Now I'm going to ink this. I'm an inker. If you're not an inker, you don't need to do this, but there's a white edge on there. I tried to pre-ink everything, but this part I could not pre-ink. Yeah, I am really looking forward to seen the other collaborators' videos. And the links and all that will be down below. Tracie's where you can purchase the kit if you choose to from Tracie, if you want to follow along and get the story. Get all the stories, I should say. And I'm going to do the same principle for the other 4 weeks, the other 4 stories. I'll make this little folio with a story that removes. And I haven't read all of them yet because I didn't want my mind to go in too many different directions. But this one was really a delightful story. And one of the nice things about the kit is there is truly something for every taste. A lot of the elements of the story are reflected in the pieces that are included in the kit. And so depending on what you took away from the story, there's an inspector, Bartholomew Jackson. So perhaps to you, he stood out most in your mind. Well, there's pieces that you can showcase him in this kit. The librarian plays a big role, and there are pieces that you can use to showcase the librarian. And the inspectors, the primary inspectors, back at the CPI, there's images that can work for them, and then the girl that the book is about, and then the author of the book. So anyway, whatever you took away, you can utilize in the images that you're putting in. All right, my next step. Okay, where did I put it here? I cut out this piece. That's this piece here. I just cut this out and I scored it to close. However, I am going to use this flap here. If you're working with the image, this flap right here, I'm going to use that as my flap to insert this in to this piece before I close it. My right-sided flap, I want to insert this flap in here before that closes. So I will center it and I'll glue that down. And then this will go up, this will go up. And because the booklet's thick, I'm going to put a little piece of scrap paper right here as a gusset so that I have a little bit more bulk and a little bit more room for all those pages. But I just wanted to make sure that if this was a little too long or too wide, all I'd have to do, I mean, it fits here, but all I'd have to do is cut this down a little bit to make sure that it fits inside my window frame without showing on the inside edge of that. So I just wanted to verify that it worked. And it does. Okay, I've got somewhere over here, oh, here we go. I had pre-cut a little piece. It's just a scrap piece of paper, and I'm using this as my gusset. It's the length of, or roughly the length of the pocket base, and I'm going to glue it on the inside so that I have more room to tuck the papers in. When I do these, I generally take a little bit off each corner so that nothing catches, and then I'll glue that down to this inside flap. And if it was a shorter story, or if it was a single piece, or something like that, I wouldn't need the gusset. But I want to make sure that I have room for the entire story. And then I'm going to lay this so that it lines up. And then I'll glue the same thing right here. Now this piece is the bottom piece. I'm folding up and in because that's going to act as a gusset, and I'm the one that I just put down. Those will be glued into place so that I have room for the story. And I didn't score that, which is why it's not laying very flat. Okay, I did score it. I didn't press it down. So I'm going to put some glue here and then glue here on my gusset. And glue those pieces together. And I will check to make sure that I didn't put too much glue on and let the glue leak by taking my bone folder or a ruler or what have you. I want to make sure it's down. I usually let it dry for a minute first, but I want to make sure it's down, but I also want to make sure it didn't glue together. Okay, so if I wanted to, I could just put it right here and let it dry. All right, this piece is going to act as the front of my pocket, and I'm going to put it right in here like this. Now, the bottom of it isn't going to show, and the top of it. I've previously sewn this together, these two pieces of window film, but they are not going to show on the inside here. I'm going to tack them down lightly just so it stays in place while before I sew it. I just want to make sure it's where I want it to be and not that the bottom pieces, so none of my previous stitching shows. Okay. Then I am going to sew the top piece first. And the reason I'm doing that is I don't want to sew it closed. I just want to sew, well, that didn't work so great, did it? And I can also use a clip or two to hold it in place until I sew it. And that might be what I do here. Because it's plastic and plastic is slippery and it takes a while to dry, that's what I'm going to do. But I also don't want this edge to stick out. Okay. And I'll check on the front to make sure I like what's showing. Yeah, see, I'm glad I checked because it's not straight. Let's see if that's a little better. Oh no, that made it worse. I went the wrong way. Okay, it's still not straight. Let's see what I can do about that. Oh, there we go. And a candle plays a large role in this book, or this story as well, so that's why I've got a candle off to the back there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there we go. All right, that will work. Now I'm going to sew this top piece only on. And this should be plenty dry by now because I want to just sew the plastic to the piece that's going to open so I can tuck my tag in. And got my machine right here. I don't know how well this will show, but sewing isn't the primary function of this. It's just to keep that plastic in place. Actually, you know what? I was going to sew just the top, but I think what I'll do is I'll sew all around the inside edge just to make sure that nothing moves out of place because I didn't like it when it wasn't straight. So I'm going to sew around the inside edge. And then I can take those clips off. And I'll do that all the way around. And that'll give me a nice tight hold with no time delay. Like I said, glue will work well. You just have to make sure you've got a sturdy glue and give it enough time to really set. So if you're not a sewer, then you still have an option if you want to do something like this. All right, so there is the window film. And before I sew, I don't want to sew the top piece because that's where my tag is going to go. But I can sew the other three sides. I don't really need to sew this right side, but if I want to make it symmetrical, I can. And I'm going to sew this piece in place here. And the reason I'm going to do that is because, again, this is going to be bulky and it's going to hold quite a bit of paper. So if I put a little extra on there, I mean, I can glue it and it would work fine. But by putting this in here like that, I'm giving it an extra hold. And you can see I didn't push it all the way in because I want to give it a little bit of wiggle room because of that, again, because it's going to be a little bit bulky. So I pulled it out a little bit, and I'll probably do the same thing and clip it into place on this side, even though this isn't being sewn, to make sure that I sew it where I want it. And now I'm going to sew this on three sides, just making sure to leave that top open. And I'm just going to use like an 1/8 inch. I just need it at the very edge. that is sewn, and I believe that's all the sewing will do, so I'll move the machine out of the way. Okay. So here we go. We've got the pocket for the story. We've got the pocket for the tag, and then this little fold-over folio. All right, this is the part where you get to choose. I mean, you get to choose all of it, but depending on how the story affected you or what seemed important to the story, most important to you from the story, the candle played a big role in the whole mystique of the story. Without spoiling the story for you, that to me was symbolic and important. So even though I really like, where is she? I made a couple, I've got a bunch of different pieces in here. I really like, the title of the story is, where did I put it? Evelyn's Magical Christmas. And so I'll definitely do something with that. And I've got a bunch of bits and pieces that I've already cut out to play with, and I've already inked. I really liked this, but her head was so close to the top of the tag, and I sewed it on there, and I didn't like that looking like it was popping out of her head. And on the other one that I made, I've got a couple of them in here. The other one, it looked like books were popping out of her head, and I didn't really care for that. Even though she's really cute and I really like her, I didn't love the way I topped those tags. So I'm not going to use those. I made, at least not for that, I made a different tag for this. Again, the candle, I like the way these papers played together, and the candle plays a large role in the story. So I just created a tag. This was one of the images on a page, and it was a square image. So I cut out this and then put it on some other paper that I pieced together and backed to make it a longer tag so that it would fit here. Again, I liked the way I like the symbolism of the candle, and I liked the way the candle poked up above the Christmas tree branches, the snowy Christmas tree branches. So that'll sit in there. And here is where the story goes. Now, I hadn't decided how I wanted to hold the story together. I was very careful with the paper clip because I want the story to be in order. There's 19 pages, and I want them all to be together. Maybe I'll put a piece of lace and sew it across the top. I could staple it easily, of course. There's some really great little labels and such. I could use one of the labels and staple that. Here we go, like this. I could put one of these, you know what, maybe I will. Let's just do that. This is one of the blank labels that came on the page. And I think I will just fold it over. I've already inked this one, which might be why I'm using it. And I really like the way that holds the story together. Now, do I want to staple it or do I want to sew it? You know what? I said I was done sewing, so let's staple it. I'm going to grab my tiny attacher or my regular stapler. I'm not sure which one. No, I would usually use the Tim Holtz tiny attacher, but that's a little bit wider and it's a little bit bulkier, so maybe I'll use, it's mostly even, I don't know, make sure I've got that on there straight. Okay, that just moved it all. And again, with the clips. I'll put the clips on to make sure that I've got it where I want it. I used thin copy paper for this because, again, I was trying to cut back on the bulk a bit. And that's mostly symmetrical. And let's see if I can get it somewhere close to the middle. Oh, nope, see, this is really thick. So that particular stapler didn't work so great. Well, heck. I could poke 2 holes in there. Let's try it one more time. Maybe if I lay it down like this. I have a sturdier stapler too, so. Okay, that worked. Okay, good. There we go, that worked. So the story is in order, all 19 pages, and it is now ready to be tucked right in there, and it stands out just a little bit, and I like it because those two play well together. Okay, now I could put another pocket here, but again, this is already pretty bulky, so I don't think I'm going to. But now I've got these 2 extra pieces that I can work with and play with, and I also have the cover. I was thinking for the cover, I might use this library card, catalog card, but there's not enough interest there. So maybe I'll put it here, or maybe I'll tuck this in my pocket. You know what? Maybe kind of like that. And this is, like I said, just depending on, I really think she will be Evelyn of the Evelyn's Magical Christmas. So maybe she'll go on front. But you know, the Charles Dickens, whatever he wrote, Christmas Carol, that's what he wrote. I mean, I know he wrote other things too, but that plays a role in this. So maybe I'll put the book cover in there. Oh, you know what? That's kind of pretty. Maybe I'll do this and this. That's what I'll do. I'll glue those together. All right, so I'm going to make a side tuck with this. Did I ink it? I did. All right. Again, I could put another belly band like I did in the prototype. I can do a side tuck. I can do a top flip up, fold down. It just really depends on how much you want to include. Now, I don't want to include too much because, again, it is already pretty darn bulky because of all the pages. But I really like that, and I think I'm going to put a Christmas Carol here. And then this image of Charles Dickens was on another piece, and I just cut it out. I don't think I inked it. So maybe I'll put that on there as well. Okay. And maybe something like that. Yep, I like that. Yep, I like it down below. Okay, so I'll put this here. And I'm only going to glue part of this. So I make sure I've got the right space. So I can still tuck something behind. And move this around. Glue this bit. So I'll make sure I'm only gluing here. My surface is a Glassboard Studio magnetic cutting mat. It's magnetic underneath and it's got the glass surface. I just put this paper down to avoid the glare or eliminate as much as possible of the glare. All right, so I've got that there, and then I'm going to put Mr. Dickens right here. Okay, I like it. And then I still have a side tuck. It's just a little bit of a layered side tuck, and it's still not bulky, which was kind of important on this one. Do I want it to go all the way to the edge? Nah, I want it to come right here, but I want the whole label to show. All right, so that bit will go there. And then I can put a couple, I've got some of the tags cut out. I could put a couple of the tags in here. I can put some labels. I can put, I've got all kinds of things cut. So just, again, whatever seems right to you. I've got some of these bits cut. I had some that were already inked. Maybe they're down here somewhere. Maybe they're in my bin. When I'm working, I tend to make a big mess, so I try to keep all my previous cut pieces in a bin in my work area. Oh, here we go. That's the name of the book that's about this story, and here's another. So, oh, here we go. See, maybe this could be the librarian. She plays an important role in this story. There's another one I had. Oh, here we go. This could be Bartholomew Jackson, the investigator who finds out what happened in this mystery. So maybe I'll put a couple of those in there. Though she's really cute, she just didn't match with this. So maybe I'll just put a couple of these in here, or maybe I'll put those somewhere else. Who knows? I certainly could. And the secret book at Scissor Lane, I kind of like the way that fits right there. So maybe I'll put that right there. You know what? I also did a piece, another bit was in there, and I used my alphabet stamps. I stamped the word resolved. So maybe I'll put this on the front, and then I'll put resolved right in here. That I could do. Library reference resolved. Maybe I'll do that. I like that. Okay. And I'm not going to make a tuck because, again, it's already pretty bulky. But I could have tucked a little bit of something in there. I could also have fussy cut that so that the poinsettia leaf goes over the top, but this will work just fine. All right, and then put a couple, and then maybe I'll put the library card in there as well. and then decide on the front. Now, I've already got a candle. That was an important part of the story, so I don't think I need the candle here. Evelyn's Magical Christmas is the name of the book, so I could certainly put that. Even, am I in frame? Good Lord, I'm moving off to the side. Sorry. I could put that there, but it kind of blends in rather than stands out. Maybe I could, and this is a Christmas tree, and this is a Christmas tree, so maybe if I put this down here and made that a pocket and put that there. Yep, I kind of like that. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll tuck the tag telling the story, not the story itself, but what I'm doing right in there. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Made a decision, moving on. Again, the nice thing about this is there's realistic images, there's illustrations, there's a little bit of captioning and labeling, and there's just so many options with this that you can truly make it the way you want. And that is true with all of the stories in the anthology. They all work in that same manner. So depending on what you get from it and how it affects you, you can embellish the way you choose. Now, I think what I'll do on the very first one or one of the others is I'll talk about the investigators and who they are and what their role is in this story. Not just this story, but this anthology. All right, and then I'll tuck that bit in there. Maybe something else, maybe a little bit of lace. Maybe I'll put some more lace on that. But that is essentially it. It's just kind of a little booklet to showcase the wonderful story. Please, again, in the description box, I will show the list of all the collaborators and which day they are and such. And I would highly encourage you to go watch their videos. I'm really looking forward to it, and I know there's some amazing creators there, and they're sure to inspire you in a variety of different ways. So there you go. Thank you very much to Tracie, the amazing, wonderful, and magical Tracie Fox, for again making our December daily a fun-filled adventure, and I appreciate her and Jay letting me join their fun. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it gave you some ideas, and take care. Merry Christmas and happy creating.